Hi. Today we're going to talk about anxiety. We're going to talk about the huge impact that it has on so many of us with high functioning autism. And we're going to talk about one challenging yet simple way that we can help get through our anxiety and overcome it and be successful in life. So I hope you stay tuned with me for that. Well, welcome once again to Living with Autism. My name is Michael. I am autistic, and today we're talking about anxiety. Anxiety is a very, very big problem in our world, but especially for those of us with autism. Studies have suggested that maybe 40% of youth and about half, 50% of adults with autism have like a diagnosable anxiety disorder. And so this is a big problem. This compares to about 18 to 25% for the population at large. So we're looking at double or more. And some studies actually suggest, I've seen it as high as around 80% potentially of high functioning autistics as adults who deal with anxiety. And we can talk about the ways and the reasons that we deal with that. But I also want to just give examples, and then, like I said, I want to look at a solution, a potential solution that might be staring us right in the face that we never thought to look at or to look for. So let's get right into that. Well, as I said, anxiety, it's a big problem. It's a big challenge. Why do we, those of us with autism, often face higher rates of anxiety than those around us? Well, I think one of the key factors can be what is called camouflaging. And I'll probably get into a lot more detail on camouflaging in a different video. But basically camouflaging means, we understand what it means in general. It's a way that I pretend and look to be what we call a neurotypical, non-autistic, normal, so to speak, even though I am autistic. And so it's ways we do things. Eye contact, for example. Eye contact is a big stereotypical indicator for people, even for clinicians who are looking at diagnosing autism. Unfortunately, we're looking too much at the stereotypical signs. And so I can learn how to have greater eye contact. I've noticed the more as I became aware of my autism, of my Asperger's as I understood it at that time. It is what I have is what you would call Asperger's, but Asperger's is no longer an official diagnosis. It's now level 1 Autism Spectrum Disorder. So just a weird way they're encompassing things differently. But I often watch people. How often do they look at me in the eye? And when they look away, or at different times, I try to okay, look away. Okay, look back. Okay, look away. Okay, look back. And I'm the kind of person who, in general, my greater tendency is to just stare. And I'm going to stare at you in the eye. So people think that autistics, that people with Asperger's are sort of looking around or looking away. I can't look you in the eye. That's not always the case. You may not see things. But my issue oftentimes, because I want to be so engaged, is I'm just focused on people in the eye. And then on the other hand, when there's an emotional problem, and I can't look at you in the eye. And so in my autism diagnosis, I was listed as having normal eye contact because I don't always think of it, but especially when you're in an autism diagnosis, right? I'm thinking more about all these kinds of details. And so you learn both through effort and both through watching people around you how to deal with some of those things. But there's other ways that we learn to camouflage. We learn to, people keep commenting because I stand too close or because I speak too loudly. So stand a little further back and try to be a little bit more quiet. Even though when I forget, I have a tendency to do those things, and people have a way of embarrassing you often by not so subtly bringing it up. But this camouflage often causes anxiety. I think it's a clear and a key factor in what causes increased anxiety. But for me, it's often just the weight of expectations. It's the unknown. It's the struggle of something I have to do. For me, sometimes I get more nervous and stressed about things that I have to do than anything else. And it may be very easy, and in other ways I might almost even enjoy it. But because someone said you have to do this, all of a sudden it creates this anxiety in me. And my anxiety, my struggles are often interesting, and they lead to paralysis. For example, when I have something that needs to be done, maybe I want to record these videos. There are some other videos that I do as well. Other things that I need to take care of. The night before, man, I'm ready. I'm motivated. I'm going to do it. And then the moment comes and I can't. I just had to do the taxes as I record this. We're just after, I think today is April 16th, 17th. I can't remember what the date is today. But I just did the taxes a couple of days ago. And they were coming up. And because my wife and I have been unemployed this year and all the craziness that's gone on, I was concerned about the taxes that we would owe. But just beyond that, doing taxes is just like, it's just so hard. And so finally I had to go and say, you know what? I have to do this. I just have to. Today is the 13th, I think is the day I did it, or the 14th. And so if I do it tomorrow, I might have to drive out late if I'm going to mail it, whatever I'm going to do. So I just dug in and I started. And as I did it, I was amazed as the amount of rebates, the tax rebate that we were going to get continued to increase. And it was an awesome thing, man. I'm glad I did the taxes. It's a good thing. But it was still a challenge. And so for me, anxiety often causes paralysis. And there are these difficulties. And so how do you deal with anxiety? What do you do? Well, unfortunately, the overwhelming and often only method of dealing with anxiety, whether you're autistic, neurotypical, whoever you are, is medication. The society today wants to give you drugs of one kind or another. Oftentimes, illegal drugs are used as a way to for people to sort of self-medicate and get away from their challenging problems. And you go to the doctor and he wants to prescribe you some form of drug to take care of it. Now, please understand me. I have my own personal opinions on medication, and I do not like it. It is not for me. But I am not suggesting in any way that if you're taking medication that you should stop. Please do not just stop your medication without consulting with friends, family, your doctor. Don't just do that. That's not a good idea. So please don't hear that in what I'm saying. My biggest challenge, even though medication personally is not for me, I have friends and family members that has been a solution for them, and has been a challenge for me because of the way I look at it. But I see how much of a good impact it's made in their lives. And so I'm not here to criticize people because they take medication and say I'm better than you because I choose not to. This has been a challenge that my wife and I have had, because there's a lot of times my wife has wanted me to do so. I have done so in the past. About 20 years ago, I was on some anti-anxiety medication for a while and stopped taking it, and have not wanted to go back. But it's been an interesting challenge. My issue above all is that, as I said, it seems that the first and often only method that people look at in dealing with anxiety is medication. And you see, I think that anxiety and all these problems are much more oftentimes than a simple chemical imbalance in your brain. I believe that there are many times things that are going on, ways of thinking that go beyond your actual anatomy, that may cause these chemical imbalances. And so I'm disappointed. I know this might be controversial to some, and others might want me to go even further because they have a stronger opinion about medication than I do. But I want to see us look beyond that. And that was the unfortunate thing when I looked up anxiety and autism, just in a little bit of a study, research, background for this video, because I don't want to just talk only from my own experience. I don't want to just sort of off the cuff say what I think. I want to study. I give you my perspective, my experience, but also study. And every site that I looked up, when they talked about the challenges of anxiety in those of us with autism, the solution, the first and very prominent solution, was always medication, some form of chemical. And then secondarily, they talked about therapy and all these other things. And so I'm not saying, hey, chemicals are, you shouldn't do it, you make that decision for yourself. I have my perspective. But if you choose not to do so, I want to hammer this home because I don't want anyone to think I'm telling you to stop medication. If you choose not to take medication, make sure that it is a wise choice to do so. But there are other methods, there are other ways, and quite simply, I think a lot of times we have to change the way we think. You see, my challenge is in dealing with people's expectations, the way people look at me, the way people think about me. And people often say, hey, they just say what they're going to say, don't worry about it. Well, the problem is that's easy to say, but it's hard to do. But at the same time, this often is actually the solution. And this is the one simple yet very difficult challenge that I want to give you for anxiety, for dealing with anxiety, where anxiety leads to a lack of action, where it leads to some form of paralysis as I face. And it's, I guess, sort of summed up in the simple Nike slogan, right? Just do it. There are ways we have to just step out and step forward. When I finally said, you know what, I have to do these taxes, let me start. Let me just put in, I went to a website. I won't make an advertisement for it, but I will actually link the site that I used in the description. If you are late on your taxes, maybe you're struggling like me and you say, I really need a place to go. It's free. They only charged me like $15 to do the state return. The rest of it was free. It was good. It helped me. But right, they walk you through. What's your name? What's your social security number? Most of this information was carried over from last year. And so I slowly took, right? It's that Chinese proverb. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And that's really what we have to do. When we deal with this, right? Recording these videos, I have to just push record and start. The reason I'm recording videos here and preparing ahead of time and not skipping a week while we're moving is because I know that if I skipped a week, it would be so hard for me to get back into it. So I don't record a video every week because that's the best way to get the YouTube algorithm and people to notice you so my channel will grow. No, I do it because this is important to me, and if I didn't do it every week, I wouldn't do it. Think of Indiana Jones. If you've ever seen Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, I've shared this many times in many talks I've had. I don't remember if I've shared it in these videos here on Living with Autism. But he's here and they're going to find the Holy Grail. It's Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the one here with Sean Connery, I believe. And he's looking to take a step. And there's this impossible chasm. It's this thing you couldn't jump and you can't even see the bottom. It's just this bottomless abyss. And the proverb is along the lines of only with the step of faith can you get through this. And so he reaches and he steps out and he puts his foot out. And as he's committed, there's a point, he's committed, he can't go back. And if there's nothing there, if he falls, he dies. But that moment, as he steps, there's a bridge. It's camouflaged with the blackness. You couldn't see it, but the moment he steps out, all of a sudden it's like, oh, there was this optical illusion, this mirage, and I couldn't see this bridge, but it's been there all the time. I think that's the way it works with life. I know it's how it worked with taxes. I stepped out, I started into it, and the next thing I know, wow, this isn't so hard. Oh, they say we might get a refund. Well, that's good, because I know that when I put this in, we're not going to owe too much. And when I put that information in, all of a sudden interesting. Our amount that we're going to get back went up. And this is a crazy time. The amount of money that is being distributed by the government is pretty crazy, and so I almost feel bad with the tax refund that we're getting, but I look at it as a blessing that has helped me start these videos. Among other things, it has given my family the time and the ability to move and some of the things that we're doing. But that's what we have to do. And it seems so impossible. It is so impossible until that moment you step out. And at that moment, for me, in my experience, I find that bridge is there, that ability is there. And so anxiety, the anxiety that leads to paralysis, it's a serious issue. I hope that you don't think I'm making light of it, that I'm making it out to be a simple thing, or that I'm suggesting everyone should stop their medications. I hope you didn't hear any of that in what I said. What I hope that we took away from this is that anxiety is a real issue for all of us, especially those of us with autism. I hope that we look beyond just chemicals for the solution, to look and understand ourselves and see how can we help adapt, how can we make some changes, be adaptable, as we talked about last week, to help with anxiety. And at those times when you have to just do something, man, step out. You can do it. You really can do it. And when you step out, the strength comes along to do it. And so many times we're able to do the impossible when we just take that first step. Well, I hope that this helped you. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got to smile and laugh a little bit. And I hope that, like me, it helped deepen your understanding, compassion for those of us around us who struggle with different things, be it anxiety, depression, whatever else might be going on. I look forward to talking to you again next week. Until then, take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye.